All right, we are live. Hi, Club Amore. Welcome back to another video. So this is our Worthy Women Winning series, and I put together this series because I wanted to just have women who are separated and divorced. I wanted them to know that there is joy and freedom on the other side of their pain, and I just wanted to showcase women who were thriving after divorce. And so I am a formative coach and mentor in the divorce space. I have a beta program that I am working on right now. So if you are a separated or divorced and you are interested in rediscovering yourself and taking your life back in that transition space, then you can head over to bit.ly at the Worthy Mother, and I'll have the link in the description box. Sorry, and I'll have all the information down there for you to join that. And so this channel has always been like a mommy baby channel. And so if you hear or see my daughter running around here, then don't mind her. We're just going to keep the ball rolling. But I just wanted to always put that out there just in case you hear something in the background. I do have a daughter. And so, yeah, so this is our second episode, and we have Jenna Duncan with us today. How are you? You could go ahead and just introduce yourself and just tell us
Mhm.
about yourself.
No problem. I am well. Thank you so much for having me on your live stream. I'm extremely excited to be here. Nervous about what's about to come out, but extremely excited. As was aforementioned, my name is Jenna Duncan. I am a life coach, holistic life coach. My focus is women that have been through post childhood trauma that are in the process of resolving it. My work with them is to help them to go from processing their childhood trauma to the next step, right?
Nice.
Because that transition can be very tricky. It's like, okay, so I've gone to therapy or I am in therapy. Where do I go from here? And that's
Yeah.
where I come in to be a guide, to be a coach, helping them along that journey. I also help couples that have one or both partners that have also had childhood trauma, some childhood trauma, mainly in the space of sexual abuse. That's my specialty,
Mhm.
to navigate their relationship, because it's extremely difficult to be
Yeah.
in relationship when one or both partners have been um, traumatized. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I do by night, but by
Mhm.
day I'm a nurse.
Oh, nice. My
A
mom's a
nurse.
nurse.
Yes, I am a nurse by day, and that's what I do. That's me in a nutshell.
Oh, that is awesome. That is
Yeah,
awesome. Um, so I'm just gonna hop straight into the
sure.
interview.
Hmm.
So, first question is, what type of environment and household were you in growing up? Like, was it a two-parent household? Was it like healthy or toxic environment? Like, what kind of environment was that?
So I would say in my formative years, I actually was raised by my grandmother and my aunts.
Mhm.
My stepdad would come in every now and then. He was active in our life, but he was a police officer, so he wasn't always like he didn't live with us.
Yeah.
And for a short stint, I'd say maybe about a year and a half to 2 years, I lived with both parents, but it was not the, I mean, at the time I thought it was normal.
Yeah.
There was a lot of arguing in the home. I noticed that there was some depression. At the time I didn't realize it was depression. It wasn't until I got older and I understood what depression was that I realized that there was depression.
Hmm.
um, Effects of unresolved trauma I saw in my parents as well.
Hmm.
And the environment was very toxic, because from that point on I left home, I'm going to say around 11 or 12, and from that point on it's been pretty much, I've been in survival mode. So I've been going from home to home. I didn't have a stable environment in which I lived in, but I have had experiences or seen friends who've had both parents in the home, and it wasn't toxic like mine was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. That is really
Yeah.
tough. How did those experiences growing up with grandma and aunts, how
Mhm.
did that play into your relationships moving forward, like when you got older?
Well, because there was no male in the home, it was a female dominant home. And
Yeah.
so I learned to be alpha female, so to speak. I
Hmm.
learned to also be alpha male. So
Yeah.
it was very my way or no way in my
Mm-hmm.
relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself very controlling.
Hmm.
That's all I knew how to do. I
Yeah.
found that it was very challenging for me to trust, to allow someone else to lead,
Yeah.
because I've always only seen the woman lead.
Oh,
I
yes.
know you asked about my grandparents, but even with my parents, when I was there for the short stint of just living with my parents, I saw that in my mother, she was also very strong,
Hmm.
and she had a personality which comes across as she needs to be in control. But
Yeah.
as I went on later, I realized that it was just a result of her own unresolved trauma that
Hmm.
was showing up in that way in her relationship.
Yeah.
Um, it, 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 I almost feel like, and I've heard this before, so I'm going to repeat what I've heard from my
Hmm.
exes, that I speak to the men in my life as though they're children. So I
Yeah.
treated them as though they were children because I needed to control, I needed to mother, because
Yeah.
that's what I saw, but then also because of my own trauma that I
Yeah.
did not resolve, that was the effects of
Yeah.
it.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. I've heard that before too. I've
Yeah.
heard that. I'm not your kid.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely can relate to that.
Mm.
So what space were you in like before your actual marriage? Like what space like mentally were you in? Were you trying to heal from childhood trauma or yeah, what space was that?
That's an interesting question. As a matter
Yeah.
of fact, well, I have been married twice.
Mhm.
So my first marriage, I didn't even realize that I had been traumatized. I didn't
Okay.
even realize it. I just assumed that everything that happened, though I know it wasn't normal, I thought that it was normal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, just to kind of give you a bit of a background, my trauma was rooted in sexual abuse. I
Mhm.
know that sexual abuse isn't normal, but I thought no one is making a big deal about it, so it must be okay.
Yeah.
And so I don't need help. I'm
Mhm.
okay. I can just move on from this.
Yeah.
So, coming from that space, and also the space of, like I said, at that point, I'd been moving from home to home to home to home. I didn't have stability. I
Mhm.
felt like I didn't really have anyone that I can call my own. I
Yeah.
desperately wanted a baby. And I thought that by
Mhm.
having a baby, I would be able to have someone to love me and I could love them.
Mhm.
And I guess the issue with that is one can't love someone else unless they learn to love themselves. So
Yeah.
no, I was not looking for healing at the time. I was looking for a quick fix or what I thought would fix the problem.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in a Christian home and I didn't want to have my children out of wedlock. God
Yeah.
forbid I had
Yeah,
my children out of
exactly.
wedlock. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, I like you, you like me, we love each other. Let's just go ahead and
Mhm.
get married and have some babies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But even then, in my mind, I wasn't even, I didn't want him.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted the baby. I was
Mhm.
okay to raise my child by myself. Like I already went into that, like I was already in that mental state, right? I
Mhm.
don't want you. I
Yeah.
just want my child. And
Yeah.
once I had my child, I'd be okay.
Mhm.
And then I needed to have a second one. And then I need to have
Mhm.
a third one.
Mm.
And
And it was
yeah,
never enough
it went, yes,
because yeah, because it's
yes,
always never enough. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's the where the mental state that I was in the first round. The
Mhm.
second round, I was so broken as a result of the first round because mentally I was not prepared for marriage. He
Yeah.
was not prepared for marriage. We were really young, like we were teenagers when we got married, right? Like really young.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't, like I said, ready for marriage. And that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But so we were trying to grow together at the same time. I still had baggage that I didn't take care of. And so it was spilling over. And I've
Yeah.
heard this said before, and I was bleeding on the person that did not cut me,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I it broke me when he would do certain things as a teenaged young man or a
Yeah.
teenage boy, I should
Yeah.
say, right? And now I'm with these three, now I have these three children.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, well, we can't get divorced or we shouldn't get divorced because biblically that's not what we're
Yeah.
supposed to do.
Yeah.
And the shame, oh my goodness, what would people think if I was to get
Mhm.
divorced and I already have three children and who's going to want me with three children? And just the noise, the constant noise that
Yeah.
plays in your head over and over and over again. And it was not going to work.
Mhm.
It was not going to work because I definitely needed to heal and I
Yeah.
didn't. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. And
Mhm.
so that ended in actually a separation, but it was a separation by the law. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't my choice. So we
Yeah.
got separated by the law. And I met someone else
Mhm.
and I was like, listen, because I met this guy and he accepted me with these three children, I better do everything that I can to make sure he's happy so that we can get married because
Mhm.
nobody else is going to want me, one. And two, what am I doing with three children and two divorces?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What am I doing with that? Like that can't be my life. I'm a good Christian girl. That cannot be my
Exactly.
life. But
Exactly.
it's my life.
And that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when I got married the second time, the mental space that I was in was, again, I just need to please this guy. So just
Mhm.
coming from a place of, again, unresolved trauma and
Mhm.
trying to piece things together myself
Yeah.
without recognizing at the time that I need to heal in order to give my best to the world.
Yes.
I went in with the same mindset that I had in the first marriage. I don't really need you. You're just like a placeholder. And I
Yeah.
treated him like he was a boy, not a man. Spoke down to him. I was very controlling, my way or no way. I
Mhm.
found that I took on the lead of ensuring that I worked, ensuring that all the bills were paid, would not give him the opportunity to step up and be a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I was.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. I heard a lot of myself in that, yeah. Like
Mm,
making sure I had all of my stuff in order. Like, yeah. Yeah.
yes.
So I definitely understand that. So that was how the first marriage. So you basically went through like how the first marriage ended.
Mhm.
But what about the second one? How did
So
that?
how did that end? So
Mhm.
it actually ended before it started. I'm going to be very
Okay.
honest with you because at that time, right before we got married, I started to go back to church because I had
Mhm.
left the church. I started to go back to church and I was praying more. And I just knew God was saying He was not the one. Like He showed
Mhm.
me in so many different ways that I have something better for you if you would just hold on, baby girl.
Yeah.
But again, the shame, right? I've
Mhm.
been with this guy for all these years
Yeah.
and how could we just break up?
Mhm.
Like what would people think? And people were already making their comments because he
Yeah.
wasn't always faithful. And so
Mhm.
people would always say, that I'm a fool and why am I still with him? And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if I get married, then I'm not going to look like a fool.
Mhm.
And so we went ahead and got married, and we got married December 19th. I wish I could tell you the year. So 2019.
Okay.
Or 2000, I think it was, I don't remember. I honestly do not remember. That's so bad. But it couldn't have been 19 because we're in 22. So it was before that. maybe 2017, 16. I don't even know, to be honest with you. I just know it was
Mhm.
December 19th because it's my
Mhm.
girlfriend's birthday. That's the only
Okay.
reason I remember December 19th. And then we were separated the first week of February, the following year. Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So he wanted to be who he was, and he
Mhm.
showed me throughout the relationship who he was. But
Yeah.
I was convinced that I could change him. I was
Yeah.
convinced that if we got
Yeah.
married, he would always say to me, you're such an amazing woman. I don't deserve you. And I
Mhm.
would be like, no, if we got married, he would see that he
Yeah.
deserves me, and that we could be such a great. And I saw in him what he didn't see in himself. And
Mhm.
rather than marrying the person that I saw, or marrying the person that was, I married who I saw. And
Yeah.
then when we got married, and I realized the person who I've been seeing is not who is actually here,
Yep.
he walked away and I let him.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, yeah, and that's so funny. I was on a coaching call today, even, and
Mhm.
I said the exact same thing. Like, you have to, first of all, you have to listen to what these men are saying.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you have to
Please
listen
do.
to what they're saying. If a man
Mhm.
tells you that he does not deserve you, he does not deserve you, and you need
Yes.
to run.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
on the other side of that, just like seeing the potential, like we continue to see the potential in men, but never the reality of what's right
Mhm.
in front of us. And it's
Yes.
like, yeah, I don't know why women do that. It's like it's always, I think it's like, and we don't consciously say, oh, I think I can change a man. It's more so like I see the potential in, like how you said, like the nurturing, like he'll come
Hmm.
around and stuff
Yes.
like that. Like,
Yes.
no,
Yeah.
it
No,
doesn't work like
definitely
that.
not. No, no, it doesn't. And for me, I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, I realized that the reason why I had that mentality, and I had that mentality also with my first husband,
Mhm,
and the reason why I had that mentality is because I didn't know me and I
yeah.
didn't love me. And if,
Mhm,
again, and I stand by this, I cannot love someone else if I
mhm,
don't love me.
mhm.
It's impossible. And
Yep.
until I know my worth,
Mhm.
I am not going to be able to actually see real worth in others.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that I could have ever done for those two gentlemen that I have been in a relationship with was leave. That's the best thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. But what in the mental space that I was in prior to, while I was in that relationship with them, was like, no,
Mhm.
the best thing I can do is show them that they can be better, is show
Yeah,
them that we can do
exactly.
this, is show them that, they can change.
Yeah.
No, nope,
No.
not
And
at
it
all.
should never be that hard either.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. So, so going through those two marriages and two divorces, how did you start to heal after those?
Girl. Well, it was a struggle because I did what I knew how to do best. I
Mhm.
jumped right into another relationship.
Oh.
And in that relationship, boy, did I get a wake up call
Mm.
because this man was nothing like I had ever experienced, ever.
Mhm.
Like he
Mhm.
had his head on his shoulders. He knew what he wanted in life.
Yeah.
He wanted to grow. He was the first person that I had interactions with or experience with that had a growth mindset. I
Mhm.
didn't know anything about a growth mindset until I met this young
Yeah.
man. And the relationship ended.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I've said before that I think I know why the relationship ended. He hasn't really told me,
Mhm.
but I believe, based on things that he had repeated to me over and over and over again, I
Mhm.
believe that our relationship ended, and he ended the relationship because I didn't love myself.
Yeah.
And to be with someone that loved me so much that they were willing to walk away from me because I didn't love me
Mhm.
was like, I'd never experienced that. And initially, I
Yes.
just wanted to do anything that I could to get him back.
Yeah.
That's initially how like my whole healing journey started. I
Yeah.
was on a mission to just get this guy back.
Hmm.
And so I started to piece together certain things that he would tell me.
Hmm.
And so discipline was one of the things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Consistency was another thing. The
Hmm.
ability to say no was
Yeah.
another thing. Taking care of my health was another thing. He had himself been to therapy, and I hadn't gone to therapy because I
Mhm.
was under the impression, which was a lie, and I didn't know that, but I was under the impression that going to therapy would strike against me as a nurse.
Mm.
Yes. And so, and this was a few years ago, and so I was afraid to go to therapy, right?
Mhm.
Because, in our community, unfortunately, we have this idea that when you go to
Yeah.
therapy, you're going to go see a shrink and they're going to
Yeah.
write, you're going to get a prescription because they're going to think you're crazy. Only crazy people go to
Exactly.
therapy. And that was the mindset that I honestly had, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I went to therapy. And
Mhm.
as I started to go to therapy, I realized that I have been repeating this cycle for
Mhm.
years and years and years. And it's just normal to me, but it's not normal. It's
Mhm.
toxic. It
Exactly.
is toxic. And it's costing me so much. It was costing me money in
Yeah.
that I was taking so many days off work, right?
Mm.
Because of depression, not
Yeah.
realizing that I was depressed. It was causing me relationships, not only with him, but even with my own children. I was
Yeah.
struggling in my relationships with my children.
Mhm.
It was costing me my spirituality because
Yeah.
it was like I couldn't be open and honest with God. I would
Mm.
always be pretending with Him,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Trying to look good to Him as I'm
Mhm.
trying to look good to everybody else while inside I'm crumbling. It
Yeah.
was costing me my health, right?
Mm.
Because my physical health was impacted. I ended up being diagnosed with possible papillary carcinoma, which is possible thyroid cancer, a
Mhm.
few years ago. And excuse me, as a result of me not dealing with like just so much stress and not dealing with all that I needed to deal with in the beginning,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And so just the ending of that relationship was the beginning of finding Jenna.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
beautiful though. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 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 And that's exactly how mine was. It was the ending when my ex-husband left, like that was, and it was the same thing. It was like I started to do all these things because I wanted to get him back.
Hmm.
And then I realized like God just started speaking to me so much. And it's just like,
Yes.
it's you. You have to learn, love
Yes.
yourself. You have to know your worth. You have to
Yes.
just, uh, yeah. And then
Yes.
that was the beginning of mine as well. So that is
Beautiful.
awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Let me turn this this heat off.
Okay.
I don't know if oh I don't know if it can't, like you can hear it or not. It just turned on and I'm like, oh, it's kind of loud. Um, but so what led you to be in the space of, so after your healing journey, what led
Mhm.
you to get into this space of trauma and trauma coaching and your purpose? What led you there?
So, what's interesting is people always tell me that I have a safe space. And I have no, till this day, I have no idea what that means. I still don't know what it means. I'm going to be very honest with you. I do not know what it means.
Mhm.
But what I found was, even when I was a teenager, that the people would, and I'm talking about people that considered themselves, like guys especially, that considered themselves hard and they don't talk and, they don't have one girl because if they have one girl, then they get, attached or
Yeah.
whatever. So it was always, I always was able to make friends with those guys, right? And they would always tell me things that they would never tell anyone else,
Mhm.
ever. And when they would tell me these things, I don't know what it was I would say. I don't. I can't tell you exactly what I said. I can't tell you the exact questions that I asked,
Yeah.
but whatever it is that I did, they would, or said to them, they would do it, and then they would see change.
Mm.
I didn't realize that though
Yeah.
back then, right? I was just like, okay, great. I told my friend to do something, he did it, things are working for him, great.
Yeah.
And when I started to do the work, and believe me, I'm nowhere near complete,
Yeah.
we're still on the journey.
Yeah.
But when I started to do the work myself, there was a moment where I thought, there are so many women, so many couples that are struggling
Yeah.
because of unresolved trauma, and they don't even know that they're struggling because of unresolved trauma.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know this.
Yeah.
I know this information. So
Hmm.
why not help them?
Yeah.
And so I started to speak to um, girlfriends that are in relationships that are struggling with their husbands, and
Hmm.
just giving them, just kind of coaching them, guiding them
Yeah.
along,
Yeah.
their own journey, and
Hmm.
seeing the results in their relationship. I
Yeah.
remember one girlfriend in particular, I think she was maybe 3 years into her marriage, and
Hmm.
she was ready to call it quits.
Hmm.
And your girl got in there, and we coached and we
Hmm.
coached. And it wasn't even anything that was consistent.
Yeah.
It was like, we talk for a few days here, a few months pass, we talk again, a few months pass,
Yeah.
we talk again. And I think they're going on 10 years now.
Oh, nice.
And I'm
That is
like,
nice.
right? I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
So I listen, I am here for marriage. I think
Hmm.
marriage is a beautiful, beautiful
Me
thing.
too. Me
I
too.
think humans are beautiful. And I believe that once we know what it is that's making us sick, so to
Yeah.
speak, so sick
Yeah.
in your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your
Mhm.
relationships, once you know what's making you sick, you now have the choice as to whether you want to remove that thing rather than
Mhm.
putting a band aid over it.
Yeah,
Because that's
exactly.
what I've been doing. And where has
Mhm.
it gotten me?
Yeah.
It has gotten
Yeah.
me nowhere doing
Mhm.
it, right?
Mhm.
So I just want to, I want to be that guide. I want to be that help. I want people to
Mhm.
know that, listen, you don't have to end that relationship.
Yeah.
You don't have to break up. I
Mhm.
want, my single sisters or even divorced sisters to know, sis, you don't have to go back into a relationship
Yeah.
doing the same thing. You
Exactly.
can get that healing so that
Exactly.
when you meet that Mr. Right, when you meet the man that God has created for you, you guys can make magic happen.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
can make it happen, but
Yeah.
it starts with you. It
Yeah.
has to start with you, not the other person.
Yes, that's so good. That is so good. It starts with us. It really
Yes.
does. It really
Yes.
does. Yeah, that is so good. Okay, so speaking of that if you want to find love again,
Mhm.
side of things, have you,
Mhm.
so my question to you is, have you found love again, or are you looking?
Girl. So, okay, I'm going to be very transparent.
Yeah.
I have not.
Hmm.
However, it is
Hmm.
because I have been so hung up the last guy, that
Uh-huh.
every single human being that comes into my life, I compare him to the other guy.
Oh my
I
God.
know, and I shouldn't. However, this is how it became a blessing for me,
Mhm.
because it became a blessing for me because normally with me, whenever I meet a guy and we kind of hit it off,
Mhm.
I fall fast, like
Yeah.
fast. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I met this guy, but I didn't really meet him. I knew him from somewhere else.
Mhm.
But we hadn't really communicated as much.
Mhm.
And so I went out with my uncle. We go hiking every Saturday. And so I went out with my uncle hiking, and he was there. And we just started talking, and then I just went into coaching mode because that's just what it's just come so natural. So I
Yeah.
was coaching him on some issues that he was going through in his own life and giving him, suggestions and stuff.
Yeah.
And so After that, a few months pass by, and then he sends me a message. We start communicating, and we decide, you know what, we're going to get married. hmm So, in the process of planning the wedding, like I reached out to whomever I needed to reach out to, and there were certain things that he would do that I'm like, so and so would never do that. But that's
Yeah.
okay. We'll give you a chance. And so as the time went on, I realized that he was just not for me. And
Hmm.
so I ended the relationship. And of course, I thank God, but I
Yeah.
thank the fact that I have a standard
Hmm.
in someone else, in another human being, something that I was actually able to see. So
Hmm.
that as I move forward, if someone comes and they are not at that standard,
Hmm.
then it's a no for me.
Yeah.
Because mentally, or I guess mentally before, my thing was, oh, it's okay. You don't have a job.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
job. We could just grow together. Or you don't want to do
Exactly.
anything with your life. That's okay. We can do
Exactly.
it together. Oh, you have no desire to buy a home. That's okay. I have a savings. Let me buy
Exactly.
the home and we can just grow together.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. I'm not
Yeah.
here for that. So, not that I'm gonna keep comparing other people to
Hmm.
this guy, but I realized that I needed to have that standard. I
Yeah.
needed to have, something that I'm looking for that I can say, I've experienced this. So I know it's out there. It's not far
Yeah.
fetched. It's
Yep.
not something that I'm thinking in my head. It's
Hmm.
not the male version of myself. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's actually out there.
Hmm.
So I am definitely, I don't think I'm looking just yet,
Hmm.
only because I'm still healing and there's
Yeah.
still a lot of work that I
Hmm.
need to do. But
Hmm.
best believe, if it comes, I'm not going to chase it.
Exactly.
I will not
Exactly.
chase it because I
Hmm.
cannot wait to be Mrs. So and so.
Hmm.
I'm here for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. 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 That's awesome. That's really good. And so like just having that possibility, like instead of it just being like I believe, like, you know how Christians are like I believe God can do this for me, or I like we maybe some people write their list and they're like, I believe that God can give me somebody like this. But for you, it's like I know for sure that this guy is out there. So
Mm-hmm.
like I'm gonna keep my standards here because I know that it's there and it's possible. And I think that that's the thing that's really good. And I think that's a good thing for that. I guess like um people don't that's the part that people don't know. Is like people don't believe that it's there. People don't
Mm-hmm.
know that it's there. You only know, I guess, like what you've experienced, or because even when other people experience it, you might see it on TV or anything like that, and like other people experience it and you still have this kind of feeling like well, that's good for them, or they got lucky, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
people conjure up in their mind is, and it's like it never hits home. So the fact that it hit home for you was that's awesome.
Yeah, in like just to kind of piggyback on what you just said, even with writing your list, like even though that's my standard, it's raised,
Hmm.
right? So it's
Yeah.
not where I left him,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Because if
Yeah.
he's still where I left him, he's not the one for me. I already
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
It's raised, and it's raised because I keep I keep raising my own personal standards, if that makes
Hmm.
sense, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
keep growing. So the more I grow, there are things that I will not tolerate.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
With that being said, I do also have a list of things that I want. However,
Hmm.
when I go through that list, and I try to revamp it every now and then, but
Hmm.
when I go through that list, I always ask myself, am I the type of woman that
Hmm.
could be with, handle, maintain this
Yeah.
type of man that I'm asking for?
Exactly.
So if I want somebody that's punctual, can
Hmm.
I be with somebody that's punctual?
Yeah.
That means I have to be punctual too, because if he's
Exactly.
punctual, he doesn't want me to be
Exactly.
tardy, right?
Exactly.
So I'm
Exactly.
now, because I have this list, it's helping me to grow. And
Hmm.
it had to start from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I believe that God permitted this guy to come into my life so
Hmm.
that he can show me, sweetheart, the where you are is nowhere near where
Yeah.
I need you to be so that you
Yeah.
can be with whom I've created you to be with.
Hmm.
So, if anybody's listening, I want to encourage, not if anybody, people are listening,
Yeah.
I want to encourage the listeners, my sisters, listen, don't focus so much on the list.
Yeah.
Focus on how you compare to the list. Because
Exactly.
all of that you're asking for, God already has that packaged up.
Hmm.
But what is the point of giving it to you if you're not ready for it, if you cannot
Exactly.
maintain it? So
Hmm. And
focus on
you can.
yourself, growing
Mhm.
yourself so that you can maintain it when it
Yeah.
comes.
Yep. That's awesome. That is so good. That is so
Yeah.
good. All right. So what and it's just so funny because it's like you keep flowing into all the questions. Um, so what are some of those like green flags or non-negotiables that you have for the person that you are waiting for?
Oh, okay. Getting in my business, girl. Okay. Um, all right. Okay. Non negotiables. First and foremost, I am not going to tolerate abuse of any kind.
Hmm.
None.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. Not
Yeah.
there's not going to be a oh I'm sorry. There's no room
Hmm.
for it. No abuse. I'm not tolerating that.
Hmm.
You have to have your own intimate relationship with God.
Yeah.
We can't be running on my relationship. That's not going to work. So you
Yeah.
have to have your own intimate relationship with God.
Hmm.
You need to be financially stable.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
going to be working for the both of us anymore. I've done that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Exactly.
You need to be able to lead.
Hmm.
I know that I am a strong woman, and that is
Hmm.
because of all that has happened in my past. I've had no
Yeah.
choice but to be strong. But
Yeah.
I'm at a place in my life where I want to be soft.
Hmm.
I want to submit.
Yeah.
And I cannot submit to someone that cannot lead.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
do that. And I will
Hmm.
not do that.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to tell me no.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's a big one for me
Yes.
because listen, no is really a struggle word for me.
Hmm.
So you have to be able to not only say no, but stand in your no.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to know how to be patient and
Hmm.
loving
Hmm.
with me because I'm still learning, I'm still
Yeah.
growing,
Hmm.
and you have to have a vision for your life, sir.
Yes.
It can't
Yes,
just be,
vision.
I'm working at McDonald's right now and, whatever happens, happens. Like, I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. That
Hmm.
makes no difference to me. I don't care where you
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I care about your vision. What
Hmm.
are you doing? Do you
Hmm.
have goals? Do you have a plan? Like,
Hmm.
do you plan to live in your mom's house for the rest of your life? Do
Hmm.
you plan to live in an apartment? That's a no for me for the rest
Hmm.
of your life,
Right.
right? Like, what are your plans?
Hmm.
Don't come if you are in debt. It is okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. What is your plan to get out? Are
Exactly.
you working
Yes.
on it? Right?
Yes.
So, and are you looking for a wife and partner, or
Hmm.
are you looking for someone to dominate?
Yeah.
Because the dominating is not going to work for me, sir.
Hmm.
It's not.
Yeah.
But I will be your wife and partner, and
Yeah.
we will do this together.
Those are
Yes.
some great non-negotiables. Sounds like my list.
Yeah.
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 So that is awesome. Okay, so if you could go back and tell your younger self before any relationship that you got into,
Mm-hmm.
um, tell her something about go back, go sit down, please.
Okay. Okay, let's sit
Oh,
down
she's so
here.
cute.
No, baby, go sit down.
No, I don't want it. I don't want
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. This is so cute.
Okay, mama, go sit down, please. Okay.
it. Okay.
All right, sit down right there then.
Okay.
So if you can go back and tell your younger self before relationships,
Hmm.
anything about relationships, what would you tell her?
That's a good question. Um, A relationship that ends
See, mommy.
does not make you a failure.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
That's
doesn't
good.
make you a failure. Just grow from it.
Mhm.
Learn what you can. Take the good out of that relationship
Mhm.
and the bad. See what you could have done to make yourself better so that
Yeah.
you don't end up in a situation like that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome advice. That is awesome. Great advice. And so what is out of your entire relationship experience, your divorces coming out of those, your
Mhm.
healing, everything, what is the greatest lesson you have learned throughout this entire experience?
That I'm worthy of love.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, girl, am worth me. I am worthy of love.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You are
that was
worthy.
mind blowing.
Hey.
We are worthy of love.
Yes,
Yes, we
yes,
are.
we are. Yeah,
Yes,
that
we
was
are.
it.
That is awesome. Well, that is the end, and you can hear Noel in the back.
All
That
right.
is the end of our interview. I thank you so much for being here. Please let everybody know where they can find you
Mhm,
if they want coaching
mhm.
and or your Instagram or if you have Facebook, whatever you have, just go ahead and let people know.
No problem. Thank you for having me. This was amazing. I
No problem.
appreciate your time. It was good.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're looking for me on Instagram, you will find me at Mended by the Maker. One word, MENDEDBYTHEMAKER. Mended by the Maker. That's my Instagram. If you're looking for me on Facebook, it's Jenna Duncan.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye. She's so cute.